Hello, Meg Miller, an Adult Services Librarian here at Pflugerville Public Library, coming to you with another Crafty at Home Cafe. This craft is one of my favorites. I am not very good at painting different things. If you've attended any of our senior watercolor hours, you'll know that our other librarian, Betty McDowell, is amazing at painting watercolors. I'm not so good at drawing or painting, but paint pouring, that's something fun that I definitely have the skill set to do. For those folks who have picked up the material supply kit, your bag is going to have a lot of goodies this time around. Right on the top of the bag, you are going to have a couple of floral foam squares. The bag itself is going to contain 4 trays. You'll have 2 faux pumpkins. And for pouring, you will have 3 small terracotta pots. For the paint pouring techniques, we are providing 3 very small glasses. You are also getting pipettes to have your paint with, and some wooden skewers. Because this is a craft that we put together for October, the paint pouring colors that we stuck with were kind of Halloween-y in nature. So we have a very, very fun green and kind of a metallic purple. There is, of course, an orange. We've got a gold. And then the last 2 colors we have for you are a black and a white. So this is definitely a craft that you are not going to want to do in clothes that mean a lot to you. You're going to have kind of an old t-shirt that you can paint in just in case you get paint on things, because it has happened to me while preparing for this craft. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so we've got all our supplies for paint pouring. You'll see that I have covered the table with a plastic tablecloth, something that I'll be able to bunch up and throw away when I'm done here, because it's very likely that our paints will get somewhere and could get on the table. So we've got a couple of different options for paint pouring. Your skewers, we've got trays, your pumpkin and all that good stuff. So the floral foam, it was cut actually with a scraper, with a metal scraper, so it is not smooth on one side. It should still kind of sit down in there if you want, or there is one smooth side. You're going to want to make sure that you kind of toss off all the extra pieces of the floral foam. As I said, these were not smooth cuts. These fun little faux pumpkins, the stem just pops right out, leaving a perfect little hole right there to put the skewer. And then I'm just going to put my skewer right down into the floral foam there so that it will hold up the pumpkin. Although that's a little far for the paint to drip. So I'm actually gonna get this skewer a little bit shorter on this one. All right, let's try this. Skewer in and pumpkin on. Yeah, that's a lot closer to the floral foam, so I won't have to worry about that as much. And then we've got the little terracotta pots. These are actually Dollar Tree, so they're 3 for $1. I'm gonna do 2 today. And these, the hole in the bottom of the pot is perfect for the skewer to go in. So there we have our 2 trays, and my little extra. I'm going to set my stem aside. You can just kind of put the terracotta pot on here. You wouldn't necessarily have to have it there. You could lay it on its side, because the way I have it now, all of our paint's going to drip downward. So when it's sitting straight up, it's almost going to look as if the paint is swirling up a little. Personal preference. So for the first type of pour that I'm going to do, actually I want a little bit more space between my little terracotta pots. I'm going to save my pumpkin for a second, making sure that the lids are on all of our paints. I really hope that you got them all home safely. For those folks who picked up the material supply kit, I'm just kind of shaking it up. These are pre-mixed paint pouring with the medium in it. So this is a pour that you've probably seen before. I'm going to use one of the little plastic cups to create my mixture. I'm shaking them, the lids don't want to come off. Alright, set my lid right behind it on my plastic tablecloth so that I don't get paint elsewhere. And since I just shook them, there is paint on the lid, so you're going to want to be careful if you're opening the same. If not, you can let them settle for a little bit before opening the lid and get some of that paint to drip back down into the little cup. Next. If you've got gloves, you might want to wear them, or you will be wearing a little bit of paint. So make sure that what clothes you have on as well, if you get paint on them, it'll be all right. All right, and 2 more colors. Okay, we've got our paints ready. One of the things I tend to do is I would like use all of the colors, which if that interests you, go right ahead. So I'm just going to start pouring some of my paint into the little cup here. Black next, since we're close to Halloween. I'm gonna go with the orange, white, all right. So there is probably about finger's width of paint in the bottom of this little cup here. It is going to be more than enough to cover one of these little terracotta pots or one of the pumpkins. So you're going to have extra paint very likely. So with my cup of paint, I am going to go ahead and pour along the top. And I am doing a circular motion, making sure that I hover and so that paint gets all the way down. And now I'm kind of moved away from the side, and since I've got the little tray, I can pour. Getting a lot of black there. I should be coming into another color here pretty soon. Oh. Got some space on this side that I can still see the terracotta. Slowly. Oh, there's some of that green coming out. Let's put a little more of that green this way. There we go. Come back through and just make sure. See, there, I found a spot that doesn't have. Slowly let that. Make sure I've got all of my edges. Oh, this one's looking great. Green's gonna pop up underneath. See a little bit here where got some orange. There we go. Right, so that is 1 cup. As I said, you can see it was really only about a finger's full of paint, and that is more than enough to cover one of these little terracotta pots. is going to be a darker one. So my next one, I am going to try something a little bit different on my other one here. I am going to start just straight from my little cup. So I'm going to pour some white there. What's some gold? This one's going to be a shiny one. Alright. And the purple is also metallic. So that's going to be my next one. Starting at the bottom, as it pushes, it'll push some of the rest of that paint off the side. Alright, and then you've got pipettes for using to put some of the paint on, so I'm just going to go ahead and do some green here with the pipette, because I can be even more, oh, that was awesome. Really drip right down. There. Got a spot over here that needs some paint. Spinning around a little, yeah, right here in the purple. And over here. Alright. And that works out perfectly. Let's see, I'm going to get some more white. And again, I'm just going to use the pipette because you can see right here I've got some where the terracotta is showing. Let's see. There we go. And I'm going to go to the gold. So with this, I'm going to get my colors less kind of marbleized than with the first type of pour that we did. You can also strain a pour through things. That would create kind of a cool effect. Let's see. I think I am going to add just a little bit more. Maybe a little bit of black in some of these final spots. There we go. So I get all of the areas covered. This using the pipette, I'm sure other crafters have done, or painters have done it this way. I just kind of did it out of necessity. The first time I tried the paint pour on the pumpkin, I was seeing that as I poured the paint onto the top, it was going down just the kind of spines of the pumpkin, and I was getting a lot of space with no paint on it. And so I wanted to make sure that I had a little bit easier time of getting the paint onto the pumpkin. Okay, so that is my 2 terracotta pots, and I'm gonna go ahead and set those aside. The hardest part of this craft, okay, the hardest part of this craft is the wait, is allowing these to dry and letting your paints work together and kind of create their little final version of what they're going to be. And actually, I've got my skewer here. I dropped some paint there. I can just swirl it around with this as well if I'm looking to get sort of that more marbleized. Let's see. Let's get another little spot of white on there. All right, there's my spot of white. Alright, and then I'm going to take my skewer and I'm just going to run back and forth through there, and I'm going to get that cool little marbleized look. Alright, so again, I'm just going to set those aside. And I'll show you what I meant with the pumpkin. So here's my little pumpkin guy. So as I would be pouring paint on here, there's a bit of a divot to the bottom of the pumpkin. So it would just go in each of the edges and I wouldn't get any paint on there. So I am gonna do a little bit of both. So if I had done a slow pour around as I made my way around and really made sure that the paint was going everywhere, that worked out eventually. But then as it was just the different, so I'm just gonna put some white and get it. And I'll be able to use the pipette to really get those lines kind of highlighted with paint. Coming through here, doing kind of a up and down dripped effect. Let's see, this one needs some orange. There's my 6th pipette. There it is. Alright, we got some orange here. The pumpkin should be some kind of orange. Actually, orange here towards the base so that it gets all the way up. There we go. An orange pumpkin. Alright, you can see. So I'm going to use my thumb to hold the foam down so I can tilt. So the paint on the top is going to move too. Tilting your paint is also going to give you some cool effects as it kind of runs together. And it's going to naturally want to run down a certain way. Let's add some green in here. Got my green. I know if you folks go down YouTube rabbit holes like some of the rest of us, but there are some very interesting videos of painters doing all kinds of different pour techniques. Here. Tilt. Oh, see, I got some paint on the table. That's why we got our tablecloth down. Alright, so I'm gonna go with some black. And actually, I go rogue, grabbing my pumpkin so that I can twirl it. I'm gonna let some of that drip down. You got to be careful. I don't want the pumpkin to fall off of the skewer because that won't be very fun to have to go and put back on. Now that I've got, using my skewer again to give myself a bit of a kind of marbled swirl with the paint. Paint comes off hands, so it is definitely dripping on my hands, but I am not too worried. I need a little bit more gold than this here pumpkin. I'm getting there. And purple for sure. These last few spots. It looks like the coolest inedible caramel apple ever. Oh yeah. Make sure I get all my spots. I think our last few spots need green. Oh yeah. There we go. Oh, make sure the pipette is going back into the paint color you want it to go into. Alright, I'm just going to use my other skewer here to make sure I get everything up into the top. The very top of my pumpkin here has got some spots where there's no paint just yet, so I'm going to get all this paint to kind of flow down into that top part. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to go back this way. It's kind of like those old tilt games where you got to get the little marble to go into a certain part of the maze by tilting. Alright, so now I can see I've got pretty good coverage. I'm going to bring some of this green, little white attached to my, there we go. Marbleize a little along here. Make sure we get those spots covered. There, I like it. Paint pouring is a lot of fun. We hope that you enjoyed this and that you have enough patience to give your paint pour enough time to fully dry before trying to move it or mess with it. If you do, before it's dry, your paint will probably move a little bit. Not really the worst thing. But one of those happy little accidents where it all just kind of turns out so cool in the end. I mean, even the inside of this cup just looks cool now with the paint on it. If you've got extra paint, paint pour on canvas is one that we've done before. It's a lot of fun. Ceramic figurines, kind of similar to like the terracotta pot that we got. These are actually 3 for $1 from Dollar Tree. Stones, I've seen paint pouring on stones or tile, and then sealed with like a Mod Podge for coasters, all that kind of fun stuff. So you might have a little bit of paint left over. You'll be able to try some other projects. As always, if you do make something, we would love to see it on the library Facebook page where this video will be. If you leave a comment with a picture of your paint pour, that would be awesome. And have a great end of October.